Imagine a completely blind man who sits entirely alone in a simple room for months on end.
Right.
And yet he receives over 24 marriage proposals a year, and he commands up to like $2 million for a single phone call.
It sounds like fiction, honestly.
It really does. But today, we're basically dismantling everything you think you know about inner peace, because we are taking a deep dive into the life of someone who has taken these ancient, supposedly passive meditation practices and, well, weaponized them.
Yeah, weaponized in the best possible sense of the word.
Exactly. To conquer some of the most ruthless, hyper-capitalist environments on Earth.
It's such a radical departure from the traditional archetype, isn't it? Because usually when you picture a dedicated yogi, you think of, someone frail.
Right, wrapped in simple robes or something.
Yeah, sitting silently on a mountaintop, totally detached from the messy realities of modern life. We kind of expect this hushed, fragile whisper.
We do, but the source material we are diving into today completely shatters that expectation.
It really proves that true neurological regulation isn't about weakness or retreat. It's about building an unshakable and sometimes incredibly formidable foundation.
And that is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring the teachings and the highly unconventional life experiences of Osman.
Widely known as the Blind Muslim Yogi.
Yes, the Blind Muslim Yogi. We're working from an extensive set of his transcripts, his videos, and his public teachings, where he breaks down the practical, high-stakes application of his medium to long-term yoga and meditation practice.
Which he refers to as the subtle but significant advantages of practice.
Subtle. I mean, I have to say, his definition of subtle involves like multi-million-dollar commercial real estate deals in Dubai.
Right.
And literally putting highly stressed people to sleep just by speaking to them over the phone.
It is a fascinating synthesis of two worlds that we rarely see intersect with such raw authenticity. We're not just talking about abstract philosophy here.
No, not at all.
Or the kind of entry-level mindfulness you'd read about in a corporate wellness brochure. We are looking at the extreme endpoint of human physiological and psychological potential.
He describes his methodology as a deeply scientific approach to life, right?
Exactly. He spent decades taking these incredibly complex, ancient yoga and meditation sciences and simplifying those protocols.
Making them into methods that yield tangible, undeniable results in the real world.
Yeah.
But before we get into the mechanics of how his brain actually works, we need to set the context of who Osman is.
Because his background is essential to understanding the gravity of these claims.
Right. So Osman describes himself as a master-level bioenergy healer with telepathic healing capabilities.
Utilizing quantum and entanglement principles.
Yeah, and he specializes in critical care, recovery, and terminal illnesses. Now, the level of dedication here it's almost difficult to wrap your head around.
It really is.
He has been practicing healing, yoga, and meditation at a highly advanced level for 50 years.
50 years. And he actually attained his first samadhi experience.
Oh, wait, for those who might not know, what is that?
Oh, right. Samadhi is a profound, advanced state of meditative consciousness and absorption. He attained that by the age of 19.
Wow.
Yeah, and he talks about periods in his early life where he was undergoing rigorous practice for up to 18 hours a day.
18 hours a day. That sheer volume of practice is the critical variable here, I think.
Absolutely. When you look at the landscape of modern wellness, you often see people seeking a quick fix.
Yeah, like a weekend retreat that will somehow undo decades of chronic stress.
Right. But Osman's baseline is rooted in this almost unimaginable endurance. He has extensively studied various schools of thought to arrive at this scientific methodology.
And it's this proficiency built over decades that allows him to execute what he does.
Yeah.
But there is also an incredibly important detail about Osman that shapes exactly how he navigates the world right now.
Yes.
He is completely and permanently blind.
Okay.
And he has been since May of 2023. Prior to that, he had normal eyesight.
Which is why, in his videos and teachings, he can so vividly describe visual experiences.
Exactly, because he retains that visual memory, but he now operates entirely without sight.
Which is a staggering transition, if you think about it. Losing your sight permanently after decades of seeing the world would send almost any human being into a profound psychological crisis.
Oh, absolutely. The grief, the panic.
The complete loss of autonomy. It would fundamentally break most people's nervous systems.
Yeah.
But as we will see when we examine his internal baseline, his foundation was so deeply fortified by his 50 years of practice that his emotional and psychological stability remained entirely unshakable.
Now, I know when we start throwing around terms like master-level bioenergy healer and critical care, some of you listening are going to have your guard up.
Yeah, naturally.
So let's be explicitly clear right up front. Just as Osman himself is, he makes it very clear that his natural-based therapies and energy healing are meant to complement medical care.
Not replaced.
Right, not replace it. He is adamant that if you have a medical condition, you absolutely must consult with a qualified, licensed medical practitioner.
He views his work as a way to replenish the lost natural energies that our highly stressful modern lifestyles deplete.
Exactly, it's a complementary framework.
Mm-hmm.
His perspective is that severe ailments, including things like cancer, are significantly exacerbated by the extreme depletion of our natural energetic reserves.
Because we live in a world of chronic stress, poor diet, and constant environmental stimulation.
Yeah, and his protocol is designed to naturally restore that energy. He claims a very high success rate, around 90%.
But he is practical about it.
Very practical. He states that this 90% success rate isn't some magical occurrence. It's simply what happens when a person follows the protocol.
Their natural energy improves.
Yes, and their own immunity is naturally boosted without even needing external energy healing.
It is about equipping the body to heal itself through profound physiological rest and energetic restoration.
And for anyone who wants to explore this directly, he is incredibly open with his information.
Very transparent.
You can listen to his podcast on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify by searching for The Blind Muslim Yogi.
And he also has a free YouTube channel where he does not withhold information.
Right, he provides unique advice, direction, and techniques completely for free. And for those who want more, he has a Patreon channel for paid live, daily videos, online lessons, one-on-one consultations, and group sessions.
He also offers the premium energy healing service there.
But the core teachings are all accessible. In fact, if you go to his website, yogawellness786.com, you can download a free 5-minute yoga and meditation program.
It's a really great starting point to see how he simplifies these complex protocols.
So with all of that context established, what we're really going to do today is analyze the physiological and psychological framework that Osman operates from.
Because we hear discussions about nervous system regulation on science podcasts, or explorations of flow states from high-performance coaches all the time.
But Osman represents this fascinating synthesis. He is living the absolute extreme endpoint of those concepts.
Proving that you don't have to choose between esoteric spiritual depth and practical, real-world execution.
Which brings us to the first major conceptual hurdle we need to cross. And this is where I think a lot of people get meditation completely wrong.
Let's talk about the brain.
Yeah, Osman says that his baseline mental state, where he exists 99% of the time, is the alpha state.
Right.
He says he is hardly ever in a beta state. Now, I hear these Greek letters thrown around in wellness spaces all the time. But let's actually look under the hood here. What is the actual physiological difference between a beta state and an alpha state?
It is the perfect place to start because this isn't just spiritual poetry, It is measurable neurobiology.
Okay, lay it on us.
Your brain operates at different frequencies depending on what you were doing. When we talk about beta brain waves, which vibrate roughly between 13 and 30 hertz, we are talking about the state that almost every modern human is trapped in for their entire waking life.
Yeah.
Beta is your active, alert, logical state. It is the frequency of critical reasoning, problem solving, and crucially, stress, anxiety, and fear.
So beta is the state of driving in heavy traffic, being late for a meeting, and simultaneously worrying about an email you sent yesterday.
Exactly. To use an analogy, imagine your nervous system is a car engine. The beta state is like driving your car in first gear while completely redlining the RPMs.
Oh, man.
You're moving fast, the engine is screaming, and you are burning through fuel at an astonishing rate.
And if you keep a car redlining like that all day, eventually the engine is going to warp, overheat, and fail.
That is what chronic beta does to a human being. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. It keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response, constantly engaged.
And alpha is the opposite of that.
Alpha waves are slower, between 8 and 12 hertz. This is the state of relaxed, calm, focused awareness.
Okay.
You aren't asleep, but you aren't agitated. It is what you might feel those fleeting moments right before you drift off to sleep.
Or like staring out at the ocean on a vacation.
Exactly. The engine isn't redlining anymore,
Okay.
right? You've shifted into overdrive. You're cruising at a low RPM, but maintaining massive, efficient torque.
Got it.
The critical distinction that Osman is making is that for the average person, the alpha state is a brief vacation.
Right. You visit it for 20 minutes during a yoga class.
Yeah, and the moment you step outside and check your phone, you are thrown violently back into high beta.
But for Osman, after 50 years of practice, alpha is his permanent residence. It is his 99% baseline.
Okay, but this is where my expectation of a yogi gets completely upended.
How so?
Because when I think of someone in a permanent, relaxed alpha state,
Mhm.
I think of someone who is incredibly passive,
Oh, I see.
someone who speaks in a soft whisper, never rocks the boat, and avoids conflict at all costs. But Osman explicitly says, I am not like a Saint Serene.
Right.
He says if you meet him, he is someone who speaks very assertively, he talks loud, he is full of self-confidence.
He even says he talks very egotistically. Yes. Though he clarifies that he isn't actually overestimating himself, he just knows exactly, precisely what he is capable of.
It's a brilliant paradox, isn't it?
But wait, let me push back on this. Let's unpack this for a second.
But
Because if we are talking about ancient spiritual sciences, isn't the ego supposed to be the ultimate enemy?
that's the common perception, yes.
How can someone claim to have attained samadhi at 19, practice 18 hours a day, and then proudly declare they speak egotistically and loudly? Doesn't that contradict the whole point of enlightenment?
That pushback makes perfect sense based on how the West has translated Eastern philosophy. But we have to look deeper at the psychology of what timidity actually is.
Okay.
Why do people act timidly? Why do they whisper or avoid eye contact or refuse to take a hard stance in a conflict?
Usually because they are afraid. Afraid of what people will think or afraid of starting a fight they can't win.
Exactly. Timidity is almost always a fear-based response.
Huh.
And fear is a hallmark of the beta brainwave state. It is a survival mechanism. If you shrink yourself and make yourself small, predators, or in modern terms, angry bosses or judgmental peers, won't attack you.
Right.
What Osman is demonstrating is that true inner peace, a permanent alpha state, doesn't require you to shrink. In fact, it allows you to expand fully.
Because he doesn't have that baseline fear of judgment.
Exactly. Because he is so deeply grounded in his own identity, he can afford to be loud. He can afford to be assertive.
So the ego he is talking about isn't the fragile, defensive arrogance of someone compensating for deep insecurities?
No, not at all. It is an unshakable, objective knowing of his own worth and capability.
That is a massive distinction. So true confidence isn't a beta trait, it's an alpha trait.
Right.
He isn't reacting to the world, he is just stating reality as he sees it without any of the nervous system static that makes the rest of us second guess ourselves.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We have to consider neuroplasticity here. When you practice meditation for 50 years, you literally change the physical structure of your brain.
Well,
The amygdala, which is the brain's fear center, physically shrinks. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for emotional regulation and executive function, physically thickens.
so his brain simply does not process a social interaction as a life or death threat the way an unregulated brain does.
Exactly. He is operating from a foundation of total biological safety.
Which explains why he says the only time he does get pulled into that agitated beta state is under very specific circumstances.
Right.
He mentions that he gets pulled out of his alpha state when people are highly inefficient, when they try to insult him, and this is notable, when they treat him like he is subhuman because he is completely blind.
And that detail about his blindness is crucial to understanding how he interacts with the world. Think about the audacity of someone underestimating a man with his level of mastery.
Yeah.
But society is deeply conditioned to view physical disability as helplessness. People see that he is blind, perhaps they see that he dresses simply, and they immediately project their own assumptions onto him.
They patronize him. They assume incompetence.
Right. And for someone who operates with the precision of a master healer and, as we'll get into, a top-tier business mind, that kind of blatant inefficiency and ignorance must be infuriating.
Oh, I bet. But what fascinates me is his reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because an unregulated person might internalize that disrespect and feel small, or they might fly into a blind rage. But Osman just pushes back assertively. He doesn't retreat.
Because an equal-minded state, a true alpha baseline, doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means you meet ignorance with unshakable clarity and absolute boundaries.
I love that.
He allows himself to feel the irritation of the beta state. He addresses the inefficiency loudly and assertively, and then because of his neuroplasticity, he drops right back down into his alpha baseline.
He doesn't carry the anger with him for the next 3 weeks like most people would.
No, he doesn't.
So, to everyone listening right now, this is where the rubber meets the road for your own life. What is your baseline?
Are you spending your entire day in first gear, redlining your engine in a high beta state.
Are you reacting to every minor slight, every slow driver, every annoying email with a spike in cortisol? What would your life look like if your foundation wasn't a fragile, fearful sense of survival, but an unshakable, fearless confidence?
Imagine walking into a high-stakes meeting and not needing to manage anyone else's perception of you, simply because you are completely anchored in your own truth.
It changes everything. When your nervous system isn't constantly scanning the environment for threats, your peripheral vision opens up, metaphorically speaking.
You see opportunities that highly stressed people miss. You can navigate environments that would absolutely crush a reactive, unregulated mind.
Well, speaking of environments that crush people, you'd think someone with this level of spiritual detachment would be living in a monastery.
Right.
But his reality is the exact opposite. Let's transition from the neurobiology of the alpha state into the hyper-capitalist reality of Dubai real estate.
Oh, yes.
Because if you thought the loud, confident yogi was a twist, wait until we look at the financials.
This section of his transcript is perhaps the most paradigm-shifting of all, because it directly confronts the deep-seated cultural bias we have about spirituality and money.
Osman is incredibly transparent about his financial success, and he attributes it directly to his energetic balance.
Let's look at his premium energy healing services.
Yeah, he mentions low-tier treatments starting around $2,000 US.
Which is already substantial.
Right. And then the next tier jumps to $200,000. And for his highest premium treatments, people are paying up to $2 million US.
Wait, a lot of listeners are going to hear that and immediately think, $2 million for an energy healing treatment. That has to be a scam or some massive placebo effect.
I know, it sounds wild.
How do we analyze this from a psychological perspective without just taking it blindly at face value?
It's the ultimate elephant in the room, isn't it? How does anyone justify a $2 million fee for something that isn't a physical surgery or a tangible asset? But Osman's perspective on this is tied to the concept of profound accumulated proficiency. He points out that he has dedicated 50 years of his life, sometimes 18 hours a day, to mastering this specific manipulation of energy.
So he isn't charging for the hour of his time.
No, he is charging for the 50 years of rigorous scientific refinement that led to that hour.
And we have to look at the psychology of the people paying these fees. We are talking about individuals with extraordinary wealth.
Right.
People at that level have access to the absolute best conventional medicine on the planet. They have teams of doctors. If they're coming to Osman, it is because they are seeking something that conventional methods haven't resolved.
Like what?
Often, the severe systemic depletion of energy caused by the immense stress of maintaining that very wealth and power.
Right. And he makes it clear he isn't guaranteeing a medical cure. He is guaranteeing a massive replenishment of natural energy, which then allows the body's immunity to do its job.
Exactly.
But the money doesn't stop at the healing practice. He details a past career in commercial real estate in Dubai. Yes.
And we are not talking about flipping suburban houses. He specialized in brokering the sale of full commercial buildings and five-star hotels.
Right.
He states that his absolute minimum profit level on these deals was $10 million US.
The contrast here is just staggering. There's this unspoken, puritanical assumption in the wellness world that to be truly spiritual, you must take a vow of poverty.
Oh, absolutely. Money is viewed as dirty or inherently corrupting to the soul.
But Osman completely rejects that binary. He views money simply as an energetic current.
He tells a story in the transcript that perfectly illustrates this detachment. He was negotiating the sale of a massive hotel right before the COVID-19 pandemic hit.
Okay.
He calculated that his personal profit from that single deal was going to be between 35 and 40 million US dollars.
Wow.
And then the pandemic shuts down the globe and the deal completely falls through. $40 million gone.
Let's pause and consider the physiological weight of that loss.
It would be devastating. For an average person, even a highly successful business person, losing $40 million overnight due to an unpredictable global fluke would induce a severe psychological trauma.
Yeah.
It would trigger devastating depression, perhaps even suicidal ideation. Their entire identity and sense of safety would collapse.
But Osman talks about it with the same emotional weight as if he misplaced his car keys.
Right.
He just states it as a matter of fact. COVID came, the deal ended, but he had made big amounts of money prior to that, so he was fine.
He doesn't attach his identity to the loss.
Exactly. His internal state, his alpha baseline, is not dependent on the external balance of his bank account.
And that is the true definition of being equal-minded. It means your internal temperature doesn't violently swing based on the external weather.
Such a great way to put it.
He also mentions that in the international market, especially in a place like Dubai, he would routinely handle millions of dollars in physical cash. People could just hand over millions in US dollars or dirhams.
The paranoia that would induce in a normal person.
Oh, totally.
Just holding a briefcase with $3 million in cash would make most people sweat through their shirts. You'd be terrified of being robbed, terrified of making a mistake. The adrenaline would be overwhelming.
But for Osman, it's just paper. It's just a transaction. And this brings us to a vital psychological insight about high-stakes environments.
What's that?
He makes a brilliant point in his teachings. He asks rhetorically, it's not that anyone can go and sell these big things. How are you going to close the deal? Are the people with this type of money even going to talk to you?
Exactly. If I tried to walk into a boardroom in Dubai to sell a $40 million hotel, they would laugh me out of the room.
Right.
Not just because I don't know the market, but because they would smell the anxiety and the desperation on me.
Yes. The neurobiology of trust in hyperwealthy environments is fascinating.
Tell me more about that.
Well, people at that level of wealth are essentially highly evolved predators in a financial sense. They have seen every slick sales pitch, every manipulation tactic. They have teams of analysts designed to spot weakness. If you walk into a room desperately needing a commission, your nervous system leaks that desperation.
Wow.
Your micro-expressions, the pitch of your voice, your breathing rate, it all signals threat or unreliability to their subconscious.
But Osman walks in, and he is deeply anchored in that alpha state. He is completely detached from the outcome.
Yes.
If he gets the 40 million, great. If he doesn't, he is still perfectly content. That absolute detachment, that unshakable calm, signals ultimate safety to the people across the table.
They aren't just buying the hotel. They are investing in the absolute certainty of his energy.
It is a profound lesson for anyone listening who works in sales, leadership, or any high-stakes profession.
Definitely.
The ultimate professional tool isn't a sharper pitch deck. It is internal physiological regulation. When you stop desperately grasping for an outcome, you ironically become infinitely more powerful in securing it. So we've seen how this energy allows him to dominate in crowded, high-stakes boardrooms. We've seen him handle millions in cash without a spike in his heart rate.
Right.
But that brings up a really interesting contradiction.
Right, too.
You would think someone closing these massive deals has to be a raging extrovert, right? Constantly networking, mingling at galas, shaking hands.
You would assume so.
But his personal life is the exact opposite. Let's look at what happens when the deals are done, the money is put away, and he is completely alone.
This transition into his reflections on solitude is where we see the true depth of his practice.
Because handling external pressure is one thing, but handling the internal landscape of total isolation is entirely another.
Very true.
He states unequivocally in the transcripts that he does not know what loneliness or depression is.
Wow.
He mentions that he has often lived alone, sometimes for months or even years at a time, and felt entirely comfortable in his own skin. He says he doesn't even feel the need for pets. He makes sure to clarify that he enjoys relationships and he likes people, but he emphatically does not need them to feel fulfilled.
To understand how extraordinary this is, we have to clearly define the difference between isolation and solitude from a psychological perspective.
Okay, let's break that down.
For the average human being, prolonged isolation is categorized as a severe psychological stressor. We are deeply biologically social creatures.
Right.
We evolved in tribes because being separated from the tribe meant certain death by predation or starvation.
So our brains are literally hardwired to panic if we are left alone for too long.
Yes. If you take an average person and keep them indoors alone for weeks on end, their nervous system perceives that isolation as a literal threat to their survival.
That makes sense.
It will trigger massive anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline.
Yeah.
We use social interaction as a primary method of emotional regulation.
Right. When we are sad, we seek comfort from a friend.
When we are bored, we seek entertainment from a crowd. We use other people to release dopamine and oxytocin to stabilize our internal mood.
But Osman is completely self-regulating. He reminisces about his deep love for online marketing back when he had his eyesight.
Right.
He says he would spend hours and hours at his computer, staying indoors for weeks on end. He'd go to the grocery store maybe once a week, buy in bulk, prep his own food, and just stay inside.
And how did he feel?
He said he felt very comfortable and together, not feeling depressed, not feeling lonely, and feeling generally good.
What is happening there is the absolute mastery of the internal environment. Because he has spent 50 years cultivating that alpha baseline, he doesn't need to outsource his emotional regulation to a crowd or to a partner or even to a pet.
Right?
He isn't relying on external inputs to stabilize his mood.
It's like he is his own emotional power grid.
Ooh, I like that.
Think about how most of us operate. We're walking around like smartphones with a terrible battery life, constantly looking for an outlet to plug into so we can recharge.
Yes, exactly.
We scroll social media looking for a quick dopamine hit of validation. We send a text and desperately wait for the reply so we feel seen.
We go to crowded, loud bars just so we don't have to sit in silence with our own thoughts.
But Osman is completely off the grid. He has a massive internal nuclear generator that is fully illuminated at all times. He doesn't need to plug into anyone else to keep his lights on.
That is a phenomenal analogy, and it speaks directly to the modern epidemic of loneliness that we see right now.
Yeah.
We are more technologically connected than at any point in human history.
Yeah.
We can instantly video chat with someone across the globe.
True.
Yet, psychological studies consistently show that people report feeling more deeply lonely and alienated than ever before.
Why do you think that is? If we have all these connection tools, why are we so miserable?
Because digital connection is often just a distraction from internal dysregulation. We are terrified of being alone with our own thoughts. Because, for most people, being alone with their thoughts means being trapped in that high-stress beta state. When you sit quietly in a room, what happens? Your brain starts cycling through anxieties, past regrets, fears about the future.
It's a terrifying neighborhood to walk through alone.
No wonder we want to escape it by constantly plugging into external distractions.
I see. But for Osman, his internal neighborhood is a permanent alpha state. It is a place of deep, unshakable peace, profound confidence, and clarity.
Right?
If your mind is the most peaceful, secure place on earth, why wouldn't you want to spend time there? Solitude ceases to be a prison and becomes a sanctuary.
Exactly. He has eliminated the internal friction. And it is vital to note that this doesn't make him a misanthrope.
No, not at all.
He isn't hiding from the world because he hates people. He says he enjoys relationships. But he operates from a place of preference rather than a place of desperate need.
Right.
He can engage with society when he chooses to and retreat when he chooses to without his emotional baseline ever fluctuating.
Which sets up an incredible dynamic. We have this self-sufficient power grid of a man totally content buying in bulk and sitting alone. But what actually happens when a man like that does choose to interact with the rest of the world? When he steps out of his solitude and engages with someone whose nervous system is totally fried.
Wow.
Because the effects he describes in his transcripts are literally, physically staggering.
This is where the deep dive moves from internal psychology into profound interpersonal physiology.
Yeah.
And where we have to critically analyze some of his more esoteric claims through a scientific lens.
Osman explains that when highly stressed, angry, or depressed people talk to him, they immediately start to feel better.
Right.
And we aren't just talking about a vague sense of feeling a little comforted. He says that very commonly when he is speaking to people, they become so physically calm and relaxed that they literally fall asleep mid-conversation.
And to be clear, he isn't saying he is boring them to sleep with long monologues.
No. In fact, he says initially he thought it was incredibly rude.
Oh, right.
He thought, why is this person dozing off while I'm trying to talk to them? But then he realized what was actually happening.
What was it?
His energy, the deep resonant tone of his voice, his absolute grounding it, was calming them so deeply that for the first time, perhaps in years, their nervous system finally felt safe enough to shut down and rest.
Now, he frames this in the context of bioenergy and telepathic healing.
Right.
And while it is easy for skeptics to dismiss terms like telepathy, if we look at the actual biological mechanisms at play, what he is describing aligns perfectly with advanced neurobiology.
Specifically what part?
The concept of nervous system co-regulation and vagal tone.
Okay. Break that down for us. What is co-regulation?
We talked earlier about how most people are stuck in a chronic beta state, driven by their sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response.
Yeah.
The parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite. It is the rest and digest state. The vagus nerve is the primary highway of the parasympathetic system, running from the brainstem down through the chest and abdomen.
Okay.
When someone has high vagal tone, they can relax rapidly after stress. Osman, with 50 years of practice, has arguably maximized his vagal tone.
So how does his vagal tone affect someone else?
Through biological entrainment and mirror neurons. Humans are biologically wired to subconsciously scan our environment for safety or danger.
Right.
We do this by reading micro-expressions, pupillary responses, and most importantly, the pitch, cadence, and resonance of other people's voices.
Oh, wow.
When a highly stressed person whose brain is screaming danger hears Osman's voice, they are hearing a voice completely devoid of anxiety, devoid of neediness, and completely steady.
And their mirror neurons pick up on this.
Yes, they pick up on this profound safety. A biological entrainment happens where the stressed person's heart rate and brainwaves actually begin to sync up with Osman's deep alpha state.
It's like a tuning fork. If you strike a powerful tuning fork and bring it next to a silent one, the silent one starts vibrating at the exact same frequency.
Precisely. We see this in infant care all the time.
Yeah.
A mother's calm, steady heartbeat will literally slow down the erratic heart rate of a distressed infant resting on her chest.
Right.
Osman is acting as a massive, grounded tuning fork for dysregulated adults. Because these people are so chronically exhausted from carrying the weight of their stress, the moment their nervous system registers that they are finally truly safe in his presence, the body just collapses into much-needed sleep.
I just find it hilariously fascinating. Imagine being so incredibly relaxed and powerful that you put people to sleep mid-conversation.
That's amazing.
And instead of taking offense, you just recognize it as a successful energy transfer. It is like his voice is literal, verbal melatonin.
It is a profound level of physiological influence. But here is where we have to address the claim that really pushes the boundaries.
Okay.
He explains that this energetic ripple effect isn't confined to physical proximity. He states that he has telepathic capabilities and that he can be speaking to someone on the phone in an entirely different country, and the effect is exactly the same.
They will fall asleep on the other end of the line? Right. He says that energy transcends space and time, and that when you connect with someone energetically, it's as though they're sitting right in front of you.
Right.
Now, I have to push back here. A lot of people are going to hear telepathy across borders and think we've crossed the line into pure mysticism. How do we scientifically validate someone falling asleep over a phone line thousands of miles away?
It's a valid skepticism. Osman might frame this using quantum terminology like entanglement, but we don't even need to go into quantum physics to explain it.
You don't.
No, the biological explanation is actually just as profound. Remember how we just discussed that humans scan voices for safety?
Yeah.
A phone call isolates the auditory signal. When you strip away visual cues, the human brain becomes hyper-tuned to the acoustic properties of the voice.
So even compressed over a cell phone tower, the nervous system is analyzing his voice.
Yes. Even over a phone line, the specific cadence of his speech, the deep resonance originating from a relaxed diaphragm, the complete absence of microtensions in his vocal cords, the deliberate pauses he takes. All of these are dense data points. The listener's brain is processing this auditory data and concluding this organism on the other end of the line is in a state of absolute, unshakable peace.
That's incredible.
Distance does not dilute the impact of absolute emotional stability when the auditory connection is that clear.
Yeah.
The parasympathetic resonance travels right through the speaker of the phone.
Have you ever called a customer service line and you are just absolutely furious, ready to yell at whoever picks up?
Oh, definitely.
And the person who answers the phone has this incredibly calm, steady, warm, totally unbothered voice. You can almost feel the wind completely knocked out of your sails.
Yeah.
You literally cannot stay angry because they aren't giving you any energetic resistance to push against.
Yeah.
Now, multiply that random customer service rep by 50 years of intensive 18-hour-a-day meditative practice.
It is the ultimate de-escalation tool.
Right.
And what is crucial here is that Osman emphasizes this isn't just a magical superpower reserved exclusively for him as a master healer.
Mm-hmm.
He explicitly tells his audience, in your case, you will have the effect of making people feel at ease and calm. He is offering this as a tangible, inevitable advantage of consistent practice for anyone.
That's awesome.
He says that natural spirituality and yoga protocols are scientifically designed to balance your energies directly and consistently. If you put in the time, you will inevitably exude an aura of peace, and that aura will actively, biologically influence the people surrounding you.
Which is such an incredibly hopeful and empowering message. So often we feel completely helpless when the people around us, our spouses, our children, our coworkers, are suffering or stressed.
Right.
We frantically try to find the perfect words to say. We try to fix their problems for them, which usually just adds our own anxious beta energy to their anxiety.
Exactly.
But Osman is suggesting that the most powerful thing you can do for a distressed person is to simply stop talking and regulate your own internal energy. You become the anchor in the storm for them.
And this intense calming effect, this ability to be a human anchor,
Right.
has a secondary consequence that is absolutely fascinating from a sociological perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't just put people to sleep, it has a massive magnetic pull.
Mm-hmm.
When you become the safest, most regulated place in a chaotic world, people are instinctively, irresistibly drawn to you.
Which brings us perfectly to the final and honestly the most unexpectedly hilarious advantage of this rigorous practice.
Yes.
We are talking about the ultimate social and romantic magnetism, because when you exude this level of profound peace, there are some very practical, very surprising consequences in your personal life.
It completely reshapes the landscape of interpersonal attraction, entirely bypassing the usual metrics we think are important.
Osman reveals in his transcripts that in the past year alone, he received roughly 25 marriage proposals.
Wow.
Let me repeat that for the listeners. A permanently blind man living a life of deep solitude received 25 marriage proposals in 12 months.
It is an astonishing metric of social magnetism. It defies every convention of the modern dating market.
And he is so funny and pragmatic about it. He immediately clarifies, look, I am not a playboy.
Right.
He points out that getting into 25 relationships in a year isn't even practically manageable. He turns them down.
Yeah.
But he uses the sheer volume as an objective example of what happens when your energies are completely balanced. He says, I'm not likable to the whole world, but to 25 people in the year, I was likable enough that they were prepared to come into an intimate, long-term relationship with me.
This phenomenon gets to the very core of human desire and the psychology of attraction.
How so?
Well, in a world that is hyper-anxious, chaotic,
Yeah.
constantly demanding, and deeply insecure, encountering someone who is a true anchor of peace is completely intoxicating.
I can imagine.
We are told by society that people are drawn to superficial traits, how you look, your status, or how much money you have.
Right.
And while Osman does have immense financial success, that isn't what is driving this intimate magnetism over the phone or in personal interactions. People are drawn to how your physical presence regulates their own chronic anxiety.
He says it so plainly. Who doesn't want to be with someone who has balanced energies? When you feel good with someone, you want to be with that person.
It's so true.
It is so simple, yet it completely flips the modern dating and networking paradigm right on its head.
It truly does. I want you to think about how much effort the average person puts into trying to win partners or friends.
So much effort.
We buy expensive clothes, we go to the gym obsessively, we memorize charismatic conversation starters, we meticulously curate our social media profiles to project an image of success and desirability.
Yeah.
The entire endeavor is a massive, exhausting performance. And that performance, that constant striving to be chosen, is inherently a beta state behavior. It reeks of effort and underlying insecurity.
Right. The effort itself is a signal that you are trying to convince someone of your worth. But Osman is doing zero performing.
Yeah.
He is permanently blind. He dresses simply. He lives entirely comfortably in deep solitude. He isn't out at clubs trying to pick up women. And yet people are throwing themselves at him, begging for long-term commitment.
Exactly.
He calls this a subtle advantage, but 25 marriage proposals a year is nothing short of a romantic landslide.
The contrast is brilliant.
It's like he is a walking, lush oasis in the middle of a scorching desert.
I love that.
If you are wandering through a desert, dying of thirst and heat exhaustion, and you suddenly stumble upon a cool, shaded spring of water, you don't care what the oasis is wearing.
No, you don't.
You don't care about its resume. You just want to set up camp right next to it and never leave because it provides immediate relief.
That oasis analogy is absolutely perfect. When you stop desperately seeking water from other people and you focus entirely on becoming the well yourself,
Yeah.
people will naturally, inevitably travel to you. This is the ultimate unspoken networking and relationship strategy. It improves your social circle tremendously. Not because you're manipulating people, not because you are using pickup artist tactics, but simply because your very existence provides them with relief from the torment of their own minds.
So, to everyone listening, try viewing your own social life, your marriage, your dating life, or even your workplace through this lens.
Right.
Instead of agonizing over the question, how can I make these people like me? Or what do I need to achieve to be worthy of a partner? What if you dropped all of that effort?
Yeah.
What if the only question that actually matters is, how balanced is my own internal energy right now? What if the secret to profound human connection isn't outward performative effort, but deep inward physiological stability?
It is an incredibly liberating shift in perspective because it places the locus of control entirely back in your own hands.
Exactly.
You cannot control the dating market. You cannot control how other people perceive your physical appearance or your status.
Right.
But you have absolute control through dedicated, rigorous practice over your own baseline frequency. And as Osman's 50 years of life experience vividly demonstrates, when you master that internal frequency, the external world reorganizes itself around you in extraordinary, almost unbelievable ways.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, so let's bring this massive deep dive home.
Let's do it.
We started this journey looking to completely shatter the myth of the timid, fragile, whisper-quiet yogi, and I think it is incredibly safe to say that Osman, the blind Muslim yogi, has provided an absolute masterclass in exactly that.
Without a doubt. We've seen how 50 years of rigorous practice, sometimes 18 hours a day, and a highly scientific approach to life doesn't result in a cowardly retreat from the world, but rather a total mastery of it.
Yeah.
We saw how his permanent alpha state allows him to be fearlessly authentic, loud, and confident. He remains completely impervious to the insults or inefficiencies that trigger the beta state in the rest of us.
Even when facing the prejudices associated with his blindness.
Exactly.
We explored how that unshakable equanimity and detachment translates into immense tangible power in the material world.
It allows him to command multi-million-dollar real estate deals and handle massive amounts of cash with zero psychological distress.
Right, maintaining perfect calm even when global events like a pandemic tear a $40 million deal apart overnight.
We also examined the profound self-sufficiency of his solitude. We learned the difference between the terror of isolation and the power of solitude.
Yeah, he is a man who can live alone for years, entirely comfortable in his own skin, completely free from the modern plagues of loneliness and depression.
Because he acts as his own emotional power grid.
And finally, we saw the incredible, undeniable ripple effect of that balanced energy, how his mere voice can signal such profound biological safety to a stressed nervous system that it literally puts people to sleep.
Transcending time and space over a phone line.
And of course, how that intoxicating aura of peace resulted in 25 marriage proposals from people who were just desperate to exist in his regulated orbit.
It is a remarkable testament to the potential of human physiology. By replenishing natural energies through disciplined, simplified protocols, he has engineered a reality that most people would consider impossible.
And remember, all of his foundational teachings are completely accessible. If you want to explore his methodology for yourself and see how he simplifies these complex ancient sciences, you must go to his website, yogawellness786.com.
And download his free 5-minute yoga and meditation program.
Yes. You can also find a massive amount of free direction and techniques on his YouTube channel. And you can listen to his podcast by searching The Blind Muslim Yogi on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
He also has a Patreon channel for paid live daily videos, one-on-one consultations, and premium energy healing services.
His mission is to revive these ancient sciences for the benefit of society's health, peace, relationships, and finances. But again, as we noted at the top, he is equally clear that his natural-based therapies are complementary to and not a replacement for licensed medical treatment.
Before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to chew on.
Okay, what is it?
We've spent this entire deep dive analyzing how Osman's internal energy impacts the world around him. His presence introduces him before he even speaks a word.
Right.
It physically calms the distressed, it attracts the hyper-wealthy, and it draws in intense companionship without him ever having to perform or ask for it.
It all comes down to his baseline frequency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want you to think about your own nervous system. If your internal energy is a broadcasting station, constantly sending invisible biological signals to everyone you interact with,
Yeah.
what exactly is your frequency telling the world right now?
Wow. That is the question to sit with this week. Are you broadcasting static desperation and beta state stress? Or are you doing the work to broadcast the kind of deep, unshakable peace that makes the rest of the world want to set up camp next to you?
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.